Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of English with Podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Tony. We're so happy to have you with us today. How are you doing, Nikki?
I'm doing great, Tony. Excited for today's topic. How about you?
I'm fantastic. I had a big breakfast this morning, so I'm ready to go.
That's awesome. So, listeners, today we are going to talk about phrasal verbs, part 3.
That's right. Phrasal verbs are super important in English. They are verbs combined with prepositions or adverbs. This makes new meanings.
Yes, they can be tricky, but don't worry. We are here to help you. Today, we'll talk about 8 phrasal verbs. The first 2 are blow up and get on.
Let's start with blow up. This means to explode or to get very angry. For example, the balloon blew up or she blew up when she saw the mess.
And get on means to board something like a bus or a train, or to have a good relationship with someone. For example, I get on the bus at 8 a.m., or I get on well with my coworkers.
Perfect examples, Nikki. I remember the time I blew up because I missed my bus. It was not a good morning.
Yes, and I remember you telling me about it. But then you got on another bus, and everything was fine.
Exactly. So, listeners, now we will hear a conversation using these phrasal verbs. After that, we'll talk more about it.
Let's go to the dialogue.
Hi, did you hear what happened at the party last night?
No, what happened?
John blew up because someone broke his guitar.
Oh no. Did he get very angry?
Yes, he was really mad. He started shouting.
That sounds serious. Did he calm down later?
Yes, after a while, he was okay. He got on with the party.
That's good. How was the rest of the party?
It was fun. We played games and danced.
I'm glad to hear that. By the way, did you get on the bus this morning?
Yes, I did. But it was so crowded.
I know. The buses are always full in the morning.
True, but at least we got on and arrived on time.
Yes, that's the most important thing.
That was a great conversation.
Yes, it was. John blowing up because of his guitar was intense.
It really was. I remember blowing up once because someone ate my sandwich at work.
Haha, I remember that day. But you got on with your day after, right?
Yes, I did. I got on with my work and forgot about it.
So, listeners, remember, blow up means to get very angry or to explode. And get on means to board something or to have a good relationship.
That's right. Practice these phrasal verbs, and soon they will become easy for you.
Now, let's move on to our next 2 phrasal verbs.
Yes. The next phrasal verbs are take in and look into.
Take in can mean to understand something, or to allow someone to stay in your home. For example, I took in the information quickly, or they took in a stray dog.
And look into means to investigate or find more information about something. For example, the police will look into the case, or I will look into the problem.
Great examples, Tony. I remember taking in a lot of information when I started learning French.
Oh yes, me too. And we often have to look into things we don't understand at first.
Exactly. So listeners, let's hear a conversation using these phrasal verbs. After that, we'll discuss it.
Here we go.
Hey, did you understand the lesson today?
Not really. I tried to take in everything, but it was hard.
Yeah, it was a bit complicated. Maybe we can look into it together.
That's a good idea. We can study together this weekend.
Sure. Also, did you hear about the new project at work?
No, I haven't. What's it about?
They are looking into new software to help us with our tasks.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I need to take in all the details.
Me too. I think it will be helpful.
Definitely. By the way, are you taking in any guests this weekend?
Yes, my cousin is visiting.
That's nice. I hope you both have a great time.
Thanks, we will.
That was a helpful conversation.
Yes, it was. Trying to take in all the information from a lesson can be tough.
True. I often have to look into things more when I don't understand.
Same here. It's always good to look into things for better understanding.
And taking in guests can be fun. I love when friends visit.
Me too. It's always a good time.
So listeners, remember, take in can mean to understand or to allow someone to stay. And look into means to investigate.
Practice these phrasal verbs, and they will become part of your daily vocabulary.
Now, let's continue with 2 more phrasal verbs.
Yes. Our next phrasal verbs are go back on and come about.
Go back on means to not do something you promised to do. For example, he went back on his word, or she never goes back on her promises.
And come about means to happen, usually by chance. For example, how did this come about?
Or, a new opportunity came about last week.
Great examples, Tony. I remember a time when someone went back on their promise to help me move.
Oh no. That must have been frustrating. But sometimes good things come about unexpectedly.
Exactly. So, listeners, let's hear a conversation using these phrasal verbs. Then we'll talk about it.
Here we go.
Hey, did you hear what happened with Tom?
No, what happened?
He went back on his promise to join our project.
Oh no. Why did he do that?
He got a new job offer. It just came about suddenly.
Well, that's surprising. When did this come about?
Last week. He didn't expect it either.
That's good for him, but what about our project?
We'll manage. Maybe someone else can help us.
True. It's not good to go back on promises, but sometimes things change.
Yes. And we can't control everything that comes about.
Exactly. Let's stay positive and keep working hard.
Agreed. We can do it.
That was an interesting conversation.
Yes, it was. It's always tough when someone goes back on their promise.
True, but sometimes unexpected things come about, like Tom's new job.
Yes, life can be full of surprises.
So listeners, remember, go back on means to not do something you promised, and come about means to happen, often by chance.
Practice these phrasal verbs and soon they will be easy for you to use.
We hope you're enjoying learning these phrasal verbs.
Yes. Now, let's move on to the next 2 phrasal verbs, turn down and make for.
Turn down means to refuse or reject something or someone. For example, she turned down the job offer, or he turned down the invitation.
And make for means to move towards a place or result in a situation. For example, we made for the exit, or this weather makes for a perfect day.
Great examples, Tony. I remember turning down an offer once because it wasn't the right fit for me.
Yeah, and making for the beach on a sunny day is always a good idea.
Absolutely. So, listeners, let's hear a conversation using these phrasal verbs. Then we'll discuss it.
Here we go.
Did you hear about Sarah?
No, what happened?
She turned down a big job offer in New York.
Really? Why did she turn it down?
She said it wasn't the right time for her.
That's surprising. New York is exciting.
Yes, but she wants to stay here for now.
I understand. Sometimes it's best to stay where you are.
Exactly. By the way, do you want to make for the park later?
Sure, this weather makes for a great day outside.
Yes, it's perfect. Let's bring some snacks.
Good idea. I'll meet you at 3 p.m.
See you then.
That was a nice conversation.
Yes, it was. Turning down a big job offer can be a tough decision.
True, but sometimes it's the right choice. And making for the park on a nice day is always fun.
Absolutely. So, listeners, remember, turn down means to refuse or reject, and make for means to move towards or result in something.
Practice these phrasal verbs, and they will become part of your everyday language. Now, let's do a quick review of the 8 phrasal verbs we've talked about today.
Yes, it's important to make sure we understand each one well. Let's start with the first 2. Blow up and get on.
Blow up means to explode or to get very angry. For example, the balloon blew up, meaning it exploded, or she blew up when she saw the mess, meaning she got very angry.
And get on means to board something like a bus or a train, or to have a good relationship with someone. For example, I get on the bus at 8 a.m., or I get on well with my coworkers, meaning I have a good relationship with them.
Great. Now, let's move to the next two. Take in and look into.
Take in can mean to understand something or to allow someone to stay in your home. For example, I took in the information quickly, meaning I understood it, or they took in a stray dog, meaning they allowed it to stay in their home.
And look into means to investigate or find more information about something. For example, the police will look into the case, meaning they will investigate it, or I will look into the problem, meaning I will find more information about it.
Perfect. Now, let's review go back on and come about.
Go back on means to not do something you promised to do. For example, he went back on his word, meaning he didn't keep his promise, or she never goes back on her promises, meaning she always keeps them.
And come about means to happen, usually by chance. For example, how did this come about?
Meaning how did this happen? Or a new opportunity came about last week, meaning it happened by chance.
Great job. Finally, let's look at turn down and make for.
Turn down means to refuse or reject something or someone. For example, she turned down the job offer, meaning she refused it, or he turned down the invitation, meaning he rejected it.
And make for means to move towards a place or result in a situation. For example, we made for the exit, meaning we move towards it, or this weather makes for a perfect day, meaning it results in a perfect day.
Awesome review, Nikki. Let's go through a few more examples for our listeners.
Sure. Let's start with blow up. For example, the bomb blew up in the movie. And for getting angry, my mom blew up when she saw my messy room.
Good examples. For get on, we can say, I get on the train every morning, and I get on well with my new neighbors.
For take in, an example could be, she took in every word the teacher said, and they took in the lost puppy for the night.
And for look into, we could say, I need to look into this issue before I can help, or she is looking into colleges for next year.
Moving on to go back on, an example could be, he went back on his promise to help me, and it's important not to go back on your word.
For come about, we might say, how did this situation come about? And a new opportunity came about unexpectedly.
For turn down, an example could be, he turned down the offer because it wasn't enough money, and she turned down the chance to travel abroad.
And finally, for make for, we could say, the children made for the playground as soon as school was out, and the sunny weather makes for a great picnic.
Excellent examples, Tony. We hope this review helps you, listeners, understand these phrasal verbs better.
Keep practicing these phrasal verbs, and soon you'll be using them like a pro.
Before we wrap up, let's go over our last set of examples using the phrasal verbs we've learned today.
Great idea, Nikki. Let's use all 8 phrasal verbs in one story. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Let's get creative. Once upon a time, in a small town, a big event came about. It was the annual fair.
Yes. Everyone in town got on the bus to go to the fair. There was so much excitement in the air.
Suddenly, a huge balloon blew up as part of the opening ceremony. The children were thrilled.
However, one of the organizers went back on their promise to bring enough food for everyone. That caused some problems.
The townspeople decided to look into the matter to find out why there wasn't enough food.
Meanwhile, a kind family took in a lost puppy they found at the fair, giving it a new home.
Yes, and despite the food issue, the sunny weather made for a perfect day at the fair.
At the end of the day, one of the vendors had to turn down some customers because they ran out of supplies.
But everyone still had a great time, and the town looked forward to the next fair.
What a great story, Nikki. We used all 8 phrasal verbs in it.
Yes, we did. Let's quickly recap those phrasal verbs one last time for our listeners.
Sure, they are.
Blow up, to explode or get very angry.
Get on, to board something or have a good relationship.
Take in, to understand something or to allow someone to stay.
look into, to investigate or find more information.
Go back on, to not do something you promised.
Come about, to happen, usually by chance.
Turn down, to refuse or reject something.
Make for, to move towards a place or result in a situation.
Practice these phrasal verbs, and you'll get more comfortable using them.
Yes, practice is key. And remember, don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we all learn.
Absolutely. And with that, we are at the end of today's episode.
We hope you enjoyed learning with us today and found our examples and stories helpful.
If you have any questions or topics you want us to cover, please reach out to us. We love hearing from you.
Yes, we do. Thank you for listening to English with Podcast. I'm Tony.
And I'm Nikki. Keep practicing your English, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.